monumental morning on the National Briefing. With me, Kelly Nash. Everybody talking about it this morning, Jimmy Kimmel. And let's be accurate, he was not fired. I've seen so many people posting that he was fired. That is not correct. Language matters. Words have meanings. Let's use the right words. The words are suspended indefinitely. It started with one group that owned like 30 or so ABC affiliates across the country saying that they were disgusted by what Jimmy Kimmel had said on Monday night, and they were going to take him off the air indefinitely. They were going to preempt his show, I think is the exact words that they used. They were joined by a second group, that's Sinclair, which owns like another 30 or so channels from ABC. They agreed. They're doing the same thing. Finally, the parent company, Disney, steps in and says, we agree. We are also going to suspend Jimmy Kimmel indefinitely. Will he be back? I have no idea. But this is the find out stage. This is America waking up to the gaslighting and the dangers of the gaslighting that the left has been using on the American populace for far too long. Now, the main reason Jimmy Kimmel is suspended indefinitely is because he did not use accurate language. As a matter of fact, he was trying to gaslight you, and he said a joke that was pretty, well, you judge it for yourself.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House.
He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish.
I think I was about 4 when I was taught that people grieve differently and we're not to judge. And we're certainly not to mock them. And your description of the killer as one of the MAGA gang, that was gaslighting. That was demonstrably false. Before the weekend, we already knew certain things. Certainly by Monday, when you were making these jokes, alleged jokes, we already knew that he had written "catch fascist" on one of the bullets. We knew that this is not the language of a MAGA follower. This is not the actions of a MAGA follower. A MAGA follower would not go and kill one of MAGA's strongest voices. So you are now suspended indefinitely. Now, is the reaction from some people is this has never happened. Now we've seen Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel both being disciplined. Well, Colbert is fired. But, I mean, it's weird that if Donald Trump was the guy behind it, why would Colbert get like another year? That is a very odd development that he got. I think it was 11 months till the show was going to be canceled. It's so outrageous, I'll only allow it to air for 11 more months. That was clearly a decision made by CBS that the show sucks. We're contractually obligated for another 11 months, so we'll just finish out the contract and then figure out something new. As far as Kimmel being suspended, that used to happen all the time. I'm going to take you back all the way back. This clip sounds so old, it sounds like it's in black and white, but it was 2010, 15 years ago. And you'll hear a much svelter Brian Stetler in here. I love his description of MSNBC and Keith Olbermann at the time. But listen to this little parade.
Another day and another host in trouble. MSNBC's controversial host and commentator Keith Olbermann can count down the days until he's back on his show.
He basically hosts the Democratic nightly news. It's no surprise that he supports Democrats, but the surprise is that he'd actually put his money where his mouth is.
The donations, first reported by the website Politico and later confirmed by Olbermann himself, added up to $2,400 each, the maximum allowed, to 3 Democrats. Controversy seems to follow cable hosts lately. Rick Sanchez was fired from CNN after suggesting Jews ran the network and other media outlets. And Juan Williams was dumped by NPR over comments about Muslims.
So NPR and CNN were denying two of their hosts their First Amendment rights. Nobody made that argument, by the way. Nobody. ACLU, nobody came forth and said that Rick Sanchez has, is free to say, he is free to say, by the way, that he believes Jews run all the media in America. You can say that. And you can say it in a way where it implies that there is something devious happening and that they're manipulating the news and blah, blah, blah. You can do whatever you want. You just can't do it on our network, said CNN at the time. He'd probably get a promotion today. But back 15 years ago, he was fired. Juan Williams and his comments about Muslims, you're off NPR. You're gone. This is the way things had always been done. And you could be fired for even slighter offenses. Let me take you, this is Kevin Nealon discussing how he got fired for the Johnny Carson show. He was never invited back. He was not allowed back after he had a little bit of a mistake.
At the beginning of my act, it was around the holidays. Yeah. And I said, I'm getting ready for the holidays. I've been doing a lot of drinking and driving. And I didn't know that he had an incident with drinking and driving. Right. I think he hurt somebody badly.
So Johnny Carson fired Kevin Nealon, banned him from the show because he didn't find drinking and driving a subject matter that should be joked about. Now, speaking of Johnny Carson, every one of these late night hosts, and I don't care who you're talking about, could be, David Letterman and Jay Leno. It could be Conan O'Brien. It could be the current crop, Colbert, the whole crew. But I can't think of anyone more than Jimmy Kimmel, who has discussed the impact, the gold standard that was Johnny Carson. And I wish that Jimmy Kimmel had actually listened to what Johnny Carson had to say. This is from an interview with Barbara Walters, and Johnny Carson was talking about how you would destroy late night television. How could they ruin it? How can a comedian end his own career?
If you start to take yourself too seriously and start to comment on social issues, your sense of humor suffers somewhere.
Can say that again?
If you start to take yourself too seriously and start to comment on social issues, your sense of humor suffers somewhere.
You have to stay in your lane. We comment on social issues on shows like this. We are not here for the yuck yucks, although hopefully we'll get you a couple every now and again. On the yuck yuck shows, you do not try to make political points. You can mock the news of the day if it's mockable. You can find the irony in it and have a good time with it. That's the job of the late night hosts. The jobs of the political commentators is to talk about the politics of the day. Jimmy Kimmel and the whole crew have been fancying themselves. You know what, though? It hasn't been, what's the guy's name on ABC? Not ABC. NBC. That guy, and I can't even remember his name. I have to get up early, so I don't watch these shows. I just see the clips. But he seems to be the one that's been the most sane. It's funny that he seems to also be the last man standing at this point. And if you get into a discussion today about Jimmy Kimmel and somebody brings up the point of his First Amendment speech, you know you're dealing with somebody who's either mentally dishonest or mentally deficient. And in either case, don't bother talking to him. There's no point in that.